Let me show you how I made one of my favourite songs, Generation Mad. I was listening to a lot of Parcels at the time, falling in love with this percussive, rhythmic, muted guitar. Now, in no way, shape or form do I consider myself a great guitarist. This is so funky, but it does just sound like noodling around on the pentatonic scale, so I thought, I reckon I could give that a go. I managed to come up with something that sounds like this, which doesn't sound like much on its own, but once you add that guitar rig and chorus plug-in with the funk lead, and you get that wah, wah, wah. Now, once I got this kind of vibe going, that I needed to add some harmonic structure to it. I needed to give it a bed of chords. So I jumped on my Juno and I hit with this. Yes, I am fully aware that it sounds like shit right now. However, you have to have an idea of what you want in mind, and I wanted something to sound like clouds just coming in and forming and shaping and then disappearing. With some well-placed chops and some processing, we can actually turn this into something usable. So what we need now are drums. Now, I didn't want to get too lost in programming perfect drums at this time. I just wanted to keep the vibe going. So I banged in a drum loop from one of the best producers in the scene at the moment, The Count. So let's hear what this sounds like added in. It's nice, but now all it needs is some bass. It's good, it's slapping, it's coming along nicely. I do think that we could add one more element in it to get it rocking in a slightly different direction whenever we need it to. So that's just that syncopated lead funk line. And then buried in there, we've got this vocal tremolo pad. That's just to keep it pulsing, just to keep that funk funkin', baby. So now I needed a B section. I needed something to break up the stripped back version of a verse and then the fuller, more dense version for the chorus. I needed something in the middle that felt fresh. So I started with the drums again. I just dropped everything out. We've got the rhythm of the song. We've got the listener. We're in. Maybe I should start with the bass then. And it's just that little, it's a syncopation and it's like an offbeat or something. I'm not smart enough to know the terms, but it just gives it a little, like it just little neck break. So boom, boom, boom. It feels like we're shifting the one onto the snare a little bit in this section. For some reason, I had Strawberry Fields by the Beatles in my mind when I was making it. Not necessarily for anything harmonically, but more texturally, more tonally. So I just went with a mellotron. In the second time that I used this section, I add in a little electric guitar, just accenting that bounce. I wanted to lift out of the funk for a second so that when we come back in to that section that's familiar, that it doesn't feel repetitive in any way, because we've moved so far away from where we were that when we come back in, it still feels fresh and funky. So I started building it with these simple guitar plucks, and then I'm adding. So that's a pad, some strings, and then we've got some watery Rhodes, still on the Juno, but we've got some watery keys underneath there just to get that bubbly feeling again. The chords harmonically are moving up, we're rising. So this section is a departure down into the belly of the song, but we're rising back up into the light, back up into the groove, back up into the funk. This is where the magic happens. So essentially what I'm doing there is just playing with rhythm. So we got 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1. Just playing with the rhythm, just pushing it and pulling it a little bit more to get that departure that I really wanted. This was inspired by the Jones Girls' Nights Over Egypt. As I said, in terms of departure, I really wanted something that was different than the rest of the song. And then with everything else back in. And then we're back into the main groove. Chee! Honestly, at this point, it's absolutely rocking, and I know exactly what I need to do next. I wanted a chorus that wasn't necessarily a sing-along, but I wanted something that gave space to flex the musicality of the song. Now, I knew also my own limitations. I knew that I am not technically proficient at one instrument enough to be able to flex in the way that I wanted this to flex. So this is where I plug into the best kept secret in the industry. Are you ready? Work with people who are infinitely more talented than you. Thankfully, I was going to say by the grace of God, but actually God had nothing to do with it. An artist called Johnny Rain, someone I look up to a lot, put me in a group chat with a bunch of other brilliant musicians, and there was a guitarist in there by the name of Daft Whiskey. On an off chance, I kind of messaged him and was like, hey, I've got this song, I'd really love if you would just lend your genius to this. My only reference at the time that I was listening to that had that guitar feel that I wanted to capture the essence of was Georgy Porgy by Toto. For the first chorus, let's say, he sent over this, which is what I ended up going with. For this section, I wanted something that was really, really subtle and didn't really stand out too much, which is why I went with what he sent. But for the second solo, what I went with was this, which is honestly just stunning. Now, he goes off on a slight tangent here, which is just a vicious vamp. In the reference track that I sent him, I just loop the chorus section. and he takes it somewhere else that I had to go back into that second section and build it all back around the solo again. Which is a really important thing to know that you're able to do. That if you send it off to somebody and they come up with a brilliant idea, you can actually bend what you've made to lean into the brilliance that somebody else has contributed. And to be honest, that's my favorite part of the song, where it changes direction completely. And it goes into this bounce and into this vamp that I genuinely feel like when we play this song live could go on for about 15 minutes. All I can do is thank you, Daft Whiskey, for being generous with your gift, because you put this song into a place where it never would have got to without you. Document everything, because I don't have any footage from when we recorded the live drums, and it would have been great to be able to show that here and now. So for anyone watching this, document every step of the process, because if you decide to do something like this, you can have much more compelling content and a much deeper story to tell. Unfortunately, I don't have that, but I got an incredible session drummer to come down to the studio. Her name was Chloe Rihanna, and she just basically smashed the drums for the whole project. Good friend of mine and Grammy award-winning producer Amir Yaqub ran the session for me basically, so that we could get the best sound and so that I could just worry about what was coming out of Chloe, the drummer. From what I can remember, we used a classic Glyn Johns recording technique, which is a microphone for the kick, a microphone for the snare, an overhead capturing the top of the kit, and an overhead on the side capturing the side, and all of those distances between the overhead top, overhead side and snare drum are at an equal distance. This is a very well used technique in studios around the world, but essentially you use almost the minimal amount of microphones that you can, which is great for someone in my position who doesn't have every microphone accessible to them. We were using what we had, but it does give you a very premium, prestige and well recognized sound. But again, getting Chloe to come in and put drums on this record really elevated it beyond where it was already. I remember turning to Amir at one point after she had done the take that I knew that we were going to use for the majority of the song. I remember turning to Amir and saying, I want to be able to go full time and just give them the stage, essentially. Just give them opportunities to express themselves, because they're the true talents in this, to be honest. I feel blessed to have brilliant creative people come and contribute to this project. And that's it, really. Like, that's your lot. That's the song. That's Generation Mad. Hopefully in some way it has empowered you to go and make your own stuff, because honestly, if I can make something that sounds this good to me, then anybody can. If you put enough time, if you put enough effort, if you get enough talented people to believe in what it is that you're making, you'll make something of value that will live on for longer than you will. Like this, I'm so happy with this song, and I'm really excited to be able to share just a brief insight into how this song actually came to be. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, hope you enjoyed the song and the project, and I'll see you in the next episode.